Do you want to fix your breathing problems, create more tongue space, but your orthodontist keeps telling you, no you can't? Straighten your teeth and fix your bite without braces? Stay tuned to find out. First though, hit the subscribe button, help us out please. And so that you can learn all of the secrets that your orthodontist doesn't tell you. First up is MyoBrace, before and after. This was posted like 5 years ago. So for those of you who don't know, there is a push for, it kind of comes in waves. Lots of things come in waves, right? Currently there are lots of different appliances out there made of a rubber material, kind of like a mouth guard, and it has a top component and a bottom component, and you bite into it. And the idea behind this particular brand is called MyoBrace. There's Healthy Start, there's other like snoring appliances kind of similar, but Sleep-O-Brace is that you wear this device and maybe there's a couple different ones and it straightens your teeth and fixes your bite so that you don't have to have braces. This is an example of the MyoBrace. You see them biting, this person's biting into the rubber. Here is our first demonstration of the before and after using MyoBrace. Can't say exactly how long this individual was doing it. Maybe in the comment section it shows. We'll go through there in just a second. We can see that this person has what we call excessive overjet. That's what the orthodontists call, that's what people refer to as overbite. Everybody should have a little bit of overbite. Remember, the top teeth should be in front of the bottom teeth, just not way out here, right? Nobody really likes this. In orthodontics, we call this excess overjet. In this case, you can see on the left, before this person started using the appliance, we can see that there is excess overjet. What's interesting about this, you can't just believe everything you see online because these pictures aren't the same, the lighting is not the same. The before picture on the left, why is the person open versus on the right, the person is biting down. Even when the person is biting down, you can see that there is considerable amount of excess overjet. And perhaps this right here, right, on the left side, gives the appearance that it was more overjet, but if you were to just close down, it might end up being about the same. Same thing in this picture, the before and after. It's like this. This is what I was before, and then now it's so much better. You can kind of get the feeling that the overjet is worse here, and then when you bite down, it's harder to see it, and so it maybe doesn't look as bad, but it ends up being about the same. Sometimes when we close down, when we bite, we actually push our jaw forward, just naturally. It's not because your joints and everything is really stable in that position, it's just you know, people take pictures and they're like, they push their lower jaw forward to smile rather than bite down. In my opinion, this would still merit orthodontic treatment in order to get rid of it completely. Okay, now this one. This is interesting. Perhaps on the left side, maybe we're biting down all the way in this case. And when you compare that with the right side, it sure looks like the overjet is less. How were the pictures taken, right? Was the jaw postured back where it's supposed to be? Or was it pushed forward as part of the picture? Then, we didn't get to see too much about the straightness of the teeth. Maybe you can kind of tell from this, when you bite down into that rubber thing all the time, or if you're trying to be consistent about it, force and duration, right? How much time you apply a force can definitely move teeth. It's not like these things, these appliances, can't move your teeth. The question is are you doing it for long enough? And even if you are doing it for long enough, does it have the ability to make them completely straight? In this case on the right, maybe there's been some improvement on the alignment. Hard to tell though. Whenever you have crowding on the bottom, which we knew we did from those before pictures, whenever you have crowding on the bottom and then you straighten it up, it makes the overbite or the overjet go away or get less. In this case, if there was any straightening, then maybe that made the overbite smaller. If you're out there in the YouTube world and you're seeing videos like this, don't buy into the hype. Let's see what everybody else is saying. I definitely see a big difference in your overjet. See, this person I think has been misled. If you're an adult trying to do this, no major difference between adults and kids as far as the alignment goes. But when you're trying to fix major bite problems, if you have bone discrepancies, right? If your upper jaw is forward and your lower jaw is back, or some variation of that, an appliance like this is not gonna fix your bite. And as far as the improvement in the alignment goes, the most predictable way to get to the orthodontic ideal is to spend the money to go to a local orthodontist and get the braces or some sort of clear aligner, try and fix your alignment and bite. How many hours used of MyoBrace? Again, the key is time and force. And if you cut down the time or the force, you're affecting your ability to get good results, predictable results. I've been wearing them for 3 months now and have not seen any changes yet. What could be the cause of the problem? It doesn't work predictably. Do we need to consult a dentist before using MyoBrace? Because it's been 1 month since I started using MyoBrace, but I'm feeling like my front teeth became larger. Please consult a dentist regarding tooth movement and Like, hello, orthodontist here, I can help. Wish it didn't push that hard on my gums because they start to recede every time I wear it. Hey, does it really work? Any side effects? Honey, you need braces, not mild braces. Straightening your teeth without braces, okay, there's options like clear aligners, or sometimes people just use veneers. They try to cover it up, but one of the most predictable, tried and true, been around for a long time, if you want to straighten your teeth and fix your bite, okay, braces, going through an orthodontist. If you're young, you can try growth modification, means that your bones are still changing. Maybe we can adapt those. If you're an adult or post-puberty, especially going without braces, your ability to achieve predictable outcomes goes way down when you try to go and use procedures that haven't really been tested and or have been tested and just shown to be not effective. Sorry folks out there, if you're looking to try to do it without the braces, it's just not very likely. On to the next video. MSE split my suture in 3 days. You're like, what's MSC? Okay, when you're young, your upper jawbone is much more malleable. It means you can change it and it can be modified. You've got essentially an upper jawbone, two sides of the upper jawbone, they come together during growth and they form your palate. And there is a suture that forms right here, right? This suture is when the bones come together. And as we age, the bones get locked in more, to the point where perhaps they fuse, right? In theory, that's like complete locking. There's no way to separate it. They're just together, one bone. But there's some variability in all of that, and perhaps not the whole thing is fused, parts of it are fused. We're not gonna go into that. When you're young, very malleable. As we get older, we get more fusion. Predictable results to fix, like a crossbite, when your top jaw particularly is narrow for your bottom teeth, is you consider expansion. And traditionally, orthodontists have used appliances that were glued onto the teeth or hooked onto the teeth. With a jack screw that you turn, it slowly pushes the teeth out. And if your bones are immature enough, then you can get separation of the bone. Your upper jawbone at the suture will split. This is great if you have a crossbite. Nowadays, expansion is like all the rage because people have, breathing problems, sleep apnea, don't have enough tongue space, and there's just all sorts of things going on online about this. Even adults now are wanting to expand, and that's not a bad thing. But the question is, can you expand an adult the same way that you can expand a child? Even like a teenager that's post-puberty. MSE refers to maxillary skeletal expansion. MARPE, mini screw assisted rapid palatal expansion. Those are like the same things, and you're talking about in kids or adults that have a mid-palatal suture that is more fused. You might need some extra help. Instead of just hooking onto the teeth with an expander, we're gonna do that, or we might just go ahead and put some screws in your bones. Eventually they come out, and you hook the expander onto those screws, and then you crank it out and it pushes the teeth apart. Previously, if you wanted to do skeletal expansion as an adult, like the only predictable way, if you want to get your mid-palatal suture or your upper jawbone wider, you had to have surgically assisted rapid palatal expansion. That means the surgeon goes in there, cuts through the middle of your bone, you put an expander in there that's hooked onto your teeth, and then you crank that thing and it splits you. Before, that was like the only option. Now with these screws, mini screw assisted rapid palatal expansion, MARPE or MSE, maxillary skeletal expansion, there are adults and older teenagers that don't have to go through this surgically assisted palatal expansion. So let's see what this guy has to say.
About 10 days ago now, I had MSE installed by my orthodontist.
MSE, like he had an expander placed, mini screws that go into your bone.
And along with the install of the MSE, which is a completely, as you know, bone-borne palatal expander that expands laterally, it splits the mid-palatal suture.
It split the mid-palatal suture. Okay, this bone-borne, it's an expander, but instead of being hooked onto the teeth, sometimes they still are, you put screws in the bone and the expander hooks onto that, and it still has the same jack screw with little holes in it that you take a key and you turn it, and as it rotates, it pushes the expander components to the side, trying to, again, split that suture down the middle.
The big question with MSE for any patient is that patient gonna successfully have their mid-palatal suture split because it is not a 100% success rate.
It can be very successful, but the point I'd like to highlight is that expansion in adults is very challenging, very unpredictable unless you, again, surgery, or in this case, you apply something beyond just, like a myo brace or your tongue to push up and try to spread your teeth out, right? If you want to get sutural split, you might need some real beefy appliances in there.
My orthodontist took extra care to ensure that a split would happen. He did a procedure called a corticotomy on me, where he drilled pilot holes into the palatal suture to weaken the resistance of the suture on the appliance.
This guy's not even talking about just getting the screws in place. First, he kind of got a SARPy, surgically assisted, where you cut down the middle. That's how you split an adult with an expander. They kind of did something like this. They took different screws. They did corticopunctures right down the middle to try and loosen up the suture to see if that would help reduce the resistance and allow for the split to happen.
11mm screws were screwed into my maxilla, which was a little bit intense.
Yeah, I could see that being a little intense.
And guess what I got? I got the split. Plus I got some space over here and over here. I did 6 or 7 turns a day for 3 days, and now I'm at 1 turn a day. Those initial days of cranking, there was pain. I had some headaches, some migraines.
You know you got a split of the suture if you get a big space in between your teeth. The same thing with kids. The giant gap in between your teeth, then you got the split. Sweet. This guy was rocking 6 turns a day, I think I heard him say. Wow. And he said his body went to full panic mode. That is pretty intense. There are different protocols of how long you wait after you get the appliance installed and then you start turning, and how many turns per day you do, or every other day. It just kind of depends on who your provider is.
That Sunday afternoon, as pain and tension was peaking, I felt like a sharp like a needle was being stuck into my suture, and then a sudden washing over me of warm bliss. My whole face and my palate got washed over with this blissful sensation, and I believe it was in that moment that the suture split and there was a huge release in tension. That was this past Sunday. Again, here's what I got to show for it.
There it is, the split right in the middle. They're probably pretty accurate, right? The intense, it's because it's splitting, it feels like it's ripping my skull apart. Well, that's because it kind of is. A lot of pressure. You see people online that say that, hey, I can expand as an adult, and it's just like, ugh. No, it is very unlikely unless you do something like this. Let's see what everybody else has to say. Those pilot holes in the palate sound like they'd likely make MSC 100% or close to it effective at splitting the suture. Fortunately, it's still not the case. It's just an adjunctive procedure. Unless you cut all the way down the middle, the procedure is not 100%. Did your TADs or your screws tilt while expanding before the suture split? Yeah, that's how hard it is, right? You're sticking this expander in there with some screws and the bones are together, and you try to turn that jack screw and it's trying to push, the metal screws actually can tip because the bone is so tight in adults. Thank you for sharing the first-hand experience of pressure buildup and release. At 50 years, I've tried ALF, right? That's another removable appliance, trying to do all those things. But that only moved teeth, fixing the foundation via MSA equals proper fix. Yeah, you try all those removable appliances as an adult, not gonna work. Is it possible to split the suture with fixed retainers? No. Expansion is good. Not everybody can have it unless you're willing to do something intense like Mr. Jaw Hacks here and trying to straighten your teeth without braces and orthodontists. Unlikely.